see me sleeping. Hey, leave it up here. Okay, so I want to congratulate the students from Lebanon. Where's the students from Lebanon? These are my people. We went through the intervener training together, right? Good. So I'm now an official intervener after 16 years. You know, it took me that long to finish my coursework, so I'm really happy to be here. So I'm David Boje, and I'm a newly appointed Regents Professor, which is the highest accolade you can get at my university, so I'm really happy about that. But in terms of responsibility-centered management, we do not have this. I don't think we're on your list, so we want you to come and create this for us because, well, I'll be experiencing probably a furlough to deal with the budget crisis. Grace Ann and I, that's my wife Grace Ann, will be asked to teach an additional course next year for no money. We have absolutely zero control over the budget process, nor do we have any input other than they'll have a meeting, they'll ask us input, which they will ignore. So we would really like to see this happen at our university. So I was past chair of the Research Methods Division, and Bob Gephardt is here, who's past chair of Research Methods Division. And that's also the Academy Management, and they also come and meet here. I think I've been to all the ODC meetings here as a participant of one way or another, so happy to be back. So my talk is meant to be provocative, so I hope I will insult all of you. So socioeconomics, storytelling, dialectic is what I want to talk about, the dialectic, and the opportunity to bring something to appreciative inquiry in terms of the dialectic. And Grace Ann, you made me change the title, but the old one still is here, so Grace Ann wanted a friendlier title. Okay, so I push this and I go to the next slide. Okay. So, there's no action anymore in action research, and there's no research. If you read the Handbook of Action Research, I defy you to find any research in there that would qualify under the word scientific. Nor would I ask you if you could find any action in there, in terms of the way we used to do OD when I was first brought into the discipline. So that's my premise. And why? Why is it not based on any sort of action perspective anymore? And I will say it's rooted in a social constructivist perspective of epistemology. Your epistemology, their epistemology, somebody else's epistemology, and action has really taken a back seat. Yeah. The remedy, I think, is a dialectic of action with being. And when I say scientific, I'm going to use a definition from Hegel. So I'm going to go back to 1807 because I think we need to start over again and figure out the relationship of action and being and get at something that's dialectic. You have to point at the screen, huh? Okay. So appreciative inquiry is the most dominant paradigm in org development and change and consultation divisions today, along with OB division, along with leadership. Just about dominates many of the academy divisions. So it's very strong, so I can critique it and they won't care, all right? So my approach is storytelling, and I notice in appreciative inquiry, they only collect the positive stories and they celebrate at the appreciative inquiry summit the positive stories. To me, this is not a dialectical approach. In other words, when you leave out all the negative stories, you leave out the opportunities for change. So I think if IA became dialectic, and that's my message to Benedictine, where's all the Benedictine people? You used to invite me there, but when I gave this, you didn't invite me anymore. Yeah, every year you ask me, you say, David, would you like to come back? But do I ever come back? No. So the socioeconomic approach to management, which has taken me 16 years to, I'm just a journeyman, I'm not a master yet. I think it's dialectic. I think it manages change by focusing on how each negative, called a dysfunction, there is a human subject and a predicate, and then there's things hidden behind what the hidden costs are. And it becomes transmuted, in other words, transformational. You can transform the negative into some kind of positive through the process of action. So my standpoint is seeing dialectics emerges in an interplay, transmuting positive value added out of the negative, out of the dysfunctions. And that we really need to focus on the dysfunctions, especially at my university, okay? And in most organizations. So the substance that Hegel talks about is the relationship of action and being. Being in the world, in spaces, time, and actual material conditions of an organization, such as a university. We're talking about pay and work and involvement. And to be thoroughly scientific, Hegel recommends a dialectical approach. And this is what I'm advocating. It's not Kantian, so he's not an epistemologist. You know, he critiques Kant, nor is he a Marxist. Marxists hated Hegel, although he cites Hegel throughout his books over and over again and can't get away from the concepts. So anyway, we'll move on. My contrast is appreciative inquiry defines problem-based OD as inappropriate. And I'm taking this right off of the slides from David Cooperwriter. It consigns them, along with deconstruction and anything dialectic, to the language of deficiency. So why is it all about the language and not about the working conditions of work organizations, of the economic and social conditions, and about language? The heck with the language. Give me the money, you know, that I deserve as a faculty member. AI is part, in general, movement of positive social science, positive leadership, positive psychology, positive this and positive that. Okay, I'm sorry, but the world is not all positive. Maybe you've noticed war, famine, a few other things. Where did dysfunctions come from? The TFW virus, and I appreciate the 100-year celebration of FAIL, but I think FAIL will be turning over in his grave if we saw what we're doing today in the name of OD. Weberism, Failism, Taylorism combined in the TFW virus, and it's a fractal, as I gave in my presentation last year. My contribution is storytelling, and I try to bring that storytelling into an understanding of socioeconomic approach to management. And Amandine, where's Amandine? She must be working. She did a wonderful presentation. We had this slide here, which you have to watch. It's so beautiful. It's in purple. But every aspect of the socioeconomic diagnostic is incorporating storytelling in one way or another. That's my premise. So let me give you, since this audience hasn't heard the word negative for many, many years, let me give you some alternative negatives. In stage one, in the negative, we differentiate negatives and positives, so it's a simple duality. And STEAM begins simply by distinguishing positive and negative, the dysfunctions, the value-added behaviors, the structures, etc. So you all know this. Anybody not know this? I'll come and talk to you after. And the stories of the dysfunctions are collected and prepared for a feedback session called a mirror effect meeting. And they are the bad stories, the negative stories, not just the positive, but the things that you're not doing well and how you're losing money because you're not doing well. I would love to tell the president of my university what he's not doing well. You know? Stage two is the turning the negatives into positive. And stage two, the dialectic storytelling, and also in seeing, is how to transform those dysfunctions into positive developments of human potential. Recover costs, build revenues, et cetera, SEAM pursues the three axes, which I'll show you in the next slide in case you forgot. Cyclical improvement, the projects that are actually implemented. So this is not a meeting where you put up a bunch of flip charts and post-it notes and claim you're doing OD. This is actually very ethnographically grounded, field note taking, field note processing before each meeting, extended interventions, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, relationships of more than 20 years with clients. The principle in every organization system, when I used to teach systems theory at UCLA, was that every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. And we need to analyze those results and how they're getting. This is the famous triad here. You all know this? We'll just go to the next slide. Okay. So stage 3 is the unity of negative with positive. This is the point of the dialectic. There is a restoring of the relationship between negative and positive to establish the unity of the subject-object. Those relationships are process relationships. So it's very much mapping the processes and determining where we can make changes. The ego, in various stages, often identifies or sees disparity between their own self and the substances, the materiality of the dysfunction. So this is very much a social materiality. We're not talking epistemology here. We're down to ontology. I'm an ontologist. I gave in my epistemology license about 10 years ago. Dialectic storytelling principle of dysfunction. The negative is linked to the self. DPI, diagnostic, project, implementation, evaluation. These are the cycle of analysis that occurs. And then you're working out the positive socioeconomic empowerment in the horizontal and vertical teams. So, as the previous presenters mentioned, there's teams involved, but they're strategically deployed to bring about change. Stage 4 are spirit mediations. Okay, I'm not talking about religion here or your spirituality. I'm talking about the way that Hegel talked about it. He's often misread, in fact, always misread. The original is much better. For Hegel, spirit is reason. And we're trying to bring about reason by understanding systems and developing science. It's not about the afterlife. It's about this life, in this world, this time, this space, this material condition. So in stage 4 of these mediations, spread out to know the organizational processes and scenes, and get to the financial level, the economic stimulus of overtime, overconsumption, etc., the risks involved. Let's look at it in a different way. Alpha, beta, gamma. I made up these words. I guess I was in a fraternity at some point. So alpha negativity fails to account for the positive within the negative. So a good example is appreciative inquiry in most of its form. 5 minutes is more than enough, I hope. We'll try that, 5 minutes, all right? I'm older, you gotta give me 6 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. All right. So the beta negativity is this idea of transforming the negatives into the positives, working that out in the process to get at untapped revenue potential and untapped human potential. And as the previous speakers told us, it's all about human potential. Now there's also a gamma negativity, which Hegel gives a strange name of ratio inactive thinking. To me, it's qualimetric, but I won't quibble with Hegel. But the reason's movement of meter and accent between the positive and negative. So there's these exchanges between positive and negative. They're very important in organizational change and development. And they occur in what's called space-time matter. That's in the new movement with Kara Barad's work in Meeting the Universe Halfway and the whole movement on socio-materiality that's bringing ontology into contact with epistemology. So this is my basic model. There is not time to present it. But, you can go to my website and learn more about it. These are the 4 kinds of dialectics that Hegel doesn't use the word sense-making, but his first chapters are called sense certainty, and they're all about the 5 senses and the limitations. And he talks about one of the limitations is this here and now versus the dialectic of relation to other years and now, both past, present. And the irritability in our relationship with others, I don't know about you, but there's I've noticed a lot of irritability in the world, with one group of people and another. and within organizations. And then you move up to a broader sense-making of reproduction in your relationship to species and kinds. So he's building up a more scientific framework, and he ends with wisdom, which I think OG needs to return to its roots of generating wisdom, an initiation into the mysteries of OG. So I think I'm done now. Oh, I wanted to give you these. You didn't flash the orange card yet. So one of the things Henri Sabal talked about in 2011 handbook, performance is not the result of putting together resources or things, it's the result of a dynamic historical movement. An assemblage on the next page is migratory, is iterative, and those iterates. And the movement, whereas the network is ties, connections, recurring pattern being more stable, we're talking about a moving assemblage that is full of instability. Agency is not just human, but in the socio-material world, it also includes the actants of the materiality and the energy forces. And human energy is part of that. We do not find an assemblage process complete its form, but it is in different phases, time, spaces, and material modalities. So my main contribution today is the ways in which AI and scene are put in relation to a dialectic storytelling, something I call quantum in my recent books. I think AI coming here to Lyon to participate in socioeconomic approach to management is the most important thing you can do. I still have 2 minutes, okay? What are your questions? I don't get questions.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.